Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to our virtual meeting tonight, Thursday, May 21st, 2020. Call our scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting to order, and I ask we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I also would like to just throw a shout out, thanking all the veterans, all the service people. This is their weekend coming up. We pay homage to the sacrifice that they made. So our next section is our public comment section. This is reserved for people.
Excuse me, yeah. Chairman Larson, can we do a roll call?
Oh, yes.
Please.
Okay. Gail Richmond.
Present.
Peter Casper.
Peter Casper here.
John Collins.
John Collins here.
Mark Rivera.
Mark Rivera, present.
Good. And Dan Larson, present.
Thank you. And we do have one item that we are adding to the agenda, so I just want to mention that now. And
okay.
It's the appointment of the municipal designee for enforcement. So we could do that under the town manager updates if that's okay with you.
Sure, that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so back as I was stating, our public comment. So is there anyone out in the audience who wishes to briefly address the Board of Selectmen? Donna, do we have any?
There are no public comments in the audience. It looks like Tom Fenton and Kevin Kelly are here, but they are here for an agenda item.
Correct. Okay, great. Moving on. Do we have anything for the good to know?
Under the good to know, we just want to take a couple minutes to recognize our public safety and essential workers. Earlier this month, it was Public Service Recognition Week, but this week in particular is the National EMS Week and the National Public Works Week. And they work hard all the time, but especially when we're working under, difficult conditions, they really step up to the plate. So we want to recognize all of our EMS and Public Works employees. Also, earlier this month, it was, like I said, Public Service Workers, Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week, National Police Week, and so all of the public service workers deserve recognition. And that's it.
Perfect, thank you. And
thank you.
I think we can all agree. Town Manager's report. You're muted. Donna, you're muted.
Thank you. So we'll quickly just go over a few things that we've been working on in the town manager's office. Our main focus, of course, has been on the COVID-19 response. We'll talk about it a little bit later in the meeting, but we've had two Hebron Department Reentry Reopen Committee meetings so far. The governor's conference calls we participate in weekly, working closely with businesses and restaurants on their reopening, and fire marshal, building inspector have been spending some time, assisting with that. Working on promoting some type of shop local program with EDC and our economic development coordinator and Wyndham Chamber. Working on keeping inventories and supplies for PPEs and supporting our departments and employees in any way that we can. We're going to slowly restore services. We are now issuing burning permits. We've opened the transfer station. The library will start with curbside pickup of materials on June 1st. We're going to ease into opening town offices. For now, we're going to remain closed to the public. When we don't have a date for opening yet, but when we do, it will probably be by appointment only to start. We received bids today for the paving projects, and we're going to talk about that at our next meeting. We received 7 proposals. Andy's been working on the RAM campus improvements, and that is moving along. He's going to be issuing a notice to proceed on that next week. As you know, we had the final budget meetings and an approved budget. We are working on the tax abatement deferment program this month. The deadline is the end of the month. And Governor Lamont was in town today at Gay City State Park doing his daily report. So that is what I have for town manager's report. There are a couple items of correspondence that we can just take a quick look at. The first one is the month of April police report. And then the other one is recognition for Jeff Robitelli, our mechanic at Public Works, has 15 years of service with the town of Hebron. So we wish him congratulations and thanks for his years of service.
And he does do an incredible job down there.
He does an incredible job.
Keeping our,
keeps all of our equipment in very good shape.
beautiful. Okay.
So now we have that new agenda item, the Hebron municipal designee to enforce the non-public health facility sector rules. So this would be to have someone local who can assist in addition to Chatham Health. Chatham Health would still be doing the restaurants, the salons, the supermarket, but this would be for businesses, retail, and Steve Knopf has stepped up to the plate has offered to do that for us. And he has the experience, the knowledge, and the demeanor to be able to do this for us. It's not really a proactive thing. We would be responding when there is a complaint made, and it starts with trying to educate and have the company or store come into compliance. But eventually they could issue an order to shut them down until they do come into compliance.
Or hopefully the complainant may find that their complaints are baseless and that the facility is already maintaining the proper protocols. So.
Right.
I'll read the motion. We'll open discussion and go from there. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen confirm the town manager's designation and appoint Steve Knopf as the town of Hebron's municipal designee in accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order 7PP, Section 2B, authority over public nuisances arising from violations of the sector rules by any business or entity that is not a public health facility. So reading the motion, any discussion?
Mr.
Chairman,
Chairman,
I'd just
Peter.
like to,
Go ahead,
Peter.
Mark. Oh,
So-
thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes, please.
add a comment? So I know we've covered this before, but could you just refresh my memory as to the the cost and the duration of this position?
I don't think anybody knows what the duration is going to be.
Okay.
It's all part of the governor's executive orders that someone be appointed to head this responsibility. since Steve is already on the payroll for doing, assisting with code compliance, it fits right in. And then, of course, with his background, both in the public health sector and all, sanitarian and all of that, even though he is not utilizing that hat, he does have a knowledge of the town, of the players. So it does seem to be a perfect.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not questioning
Um,
Steve. I'm just trying to understand if we have a separate contract with him for a designated period of time. And I thought there was some discussion about compensation. I just was trying to remember
Yeah.
the framework around that. Not, I have no issues with Steve. I just meant just
Right.
sort of understanding the
We'll
context
ask
of the position.
on the compensation because I do not know.
I just don't remember.
Peter, you're thinking of a different position, and
Oh,
that's
okay.
the long-term recovery coordinator. That's a
Oh, okay.
completely
Okay.
separate
Thank you.
position.
Okay.
This is something brand new that just came out this week in one of
Oh,
Governor Lamont's latest executive orders. And
you're
it's to
exactly
help.
right. That's what I was thinking of. I thought it was an old item that we were,
Yeah.
now we had Steve, we were moving forward. I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Chairman?
We don't anticipate there being an additional cost unless there's some, unforeseen demand for this. If there's, businesses that are not complying, and he has to work over and above his
Sure.
current hours or come in on the weekend. But at this point, we don't anticipate there's going to be additional costs.
Okay. Thank you. And you're right. I did confuse it. So thank you.
Okay, Mark, I know you wanted to say something.
And Donna pretty much covered it, but I talked to Andy about it too. And it's just an addition to his already defined duties. And if nobody's calling to complain and he doesn't have to respond, we're not paying him to do nothing. So if these complaints arise, then it will just be an addition to his 19 or 20 hours, whatever it is. But hopefully he can do it within his 20 hours. The other comment I wanted to make about the governor's order is it also applies to, there's more to it than just that piece there. It applies to the patrons in your business not complying and being susceptible to the authorities also. And I think it also gives the police powers to intervene at that point too.
Yes, it does.
Right. Because you can't lay everything all off on the business and they're trying to get people to comply. And we all know that somebody's going to become defiant or not want to go along with the program. So the town has the authority both in law enforcement and also out of Andy's office, whoever he designates to serve. And if I'm correct on it, it gives you the power to enforce it like you'd enforce an ordinance. Is
Yes.
that pretty much correct? Okay.
Yeah. And that material is in what we sent you yesterday and in this agenda package. It does break it down which different individuals have with what authority and who they should be referred to with certain types of complaints. So.
John, did you want to say something?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, okay. Gail?
No, I think Steve is the ideal person. And I did read all that stuff, so I'm familiar with what it said.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and I'll go around the block. Gail?
Bill, aye.
John?
John Collins, aye.
Mark?
Mark Rivera, aye.
Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
And Dan Larson, myself, aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Back on to old business. I think we have our business, or yeah, budget update.
Yep. I think you all know that the Board of Finance, well, I need to scoot down to that next part, but the Board of Finance approved a budget and set a mill rate last week. The mill rate is 36.33. The budget is 35,737,158, and the CIP budget was approved at $699,697.
Okay. Now our next thing would be the COVID-19 long-term recovery coordinator. Did you want to talk on this at all? This is what you were talking about, I think, Peter. You're
Yes,
muted
yes,
again.
you're right. Yeah, I was confusing the two. So yes, you're correct, Dan.
Donna, we can't hear you. Donna, we can't hear you. Trying to figure out how this thing works.
I think it's back.
On.
Yeah, there was a note on here, the audio connection was lost. I think it was everybody's. Okay, so I don't know how much you heard of that.
I'm
but
afraid none of it.
what I was saying was, Deanne, I know that you were checking with a few people to see if there was any interest. And at this point, we don't have anyone to recommend, but the state and the COG is looking for us to recommend someone soon.
Okay, I did talk to one gentleman who said he would be interested depending on what was going to be required to step up to the plate, and that was Jeff Kirkham, long-term Hebron resident. In fact, actually, I believe he grew up here his whole life.
Yep.
He was part of the fire department, was involved with EMS, back in the day. Other people I was thinking about, but I have not had a chance to talk to, was Jack Hooker. But as I say, I'm just trying to throw out, people who know the town and who may be able to assist in that. And I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts or people that may be interested. I would hope that we could get a list, find out their interest, their availability, and then maybe have an answer by our next meeting. I don't know if that's possible or not.
It would be nice to make that appointment at our next meeting. If Jeff Kirkham is interested, if he wanted to come in, or well, not come in, but
That's the problem. How do you?
we could set up a virtual meeting with Andy and maybe Paul Bancroft, and we could provide to him the information that goes into a lot of detail about what that individual will be doing. That would provide him with more details before he can, make an informed decision. So.
Okay. Well, I think I did forward to Andy his phone number, but I will re-forward that information to you.
We'll reach out to him. We'll reach out to him early next week then, when we get back on Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to say there's also, and I could read off the list of the other established members of the COVID-19 Re-Entry Reopen Committee. Oh, it's up there. I actually printed it off, so I had copies instead of, so that would be Paul Bancroft of Emergency Management, Rich Clarko of Parks and Rec, Sharon Gerard of the Senior Services, Kevin Kelly, and Darren Norton of Public Works, Donna Lanza, the Town Office Building Administration, Michael Leary, Mark Rivera, Kevin Sullivan, Andrew Turney, Nick Wallach, and Ryan McCammon,
Yes.
who is the liaison from Chatham Health. So,
We have started meeting. We had our second meeting yesterday, and we're going to meet weekly. We're going over all the plans for reopening. We're going over supplies. We have each department coming up with their individualized plan for how their department's reopening will look. If there's any concerns or issues that they foresee, we're looking for them to tell us what they think is going to work best for them. We've gone around and inventoried all the departments, and we've ordered the materials and the shields, the sneeze guards or shields are being made. We'll have plexiglass shields at every public facing desk, and then also some others throughout, and that is in every department. So we're working on that. We're ordering materials for the floor markings and, going through each department, what services they provide, what non-essential services that they may recommend we not provide. For example, like notary services, we may suspend that for a while. And this is when we do reopen to the public. Like I said earlier, when we first open, it will be staff only and then by appointment only. And we're going to encourage, as much to continue to be done by electronic means or by mail if the services can be provided that way.
okay. On the notaries, from what I have gathered, banks basically are not allowing people in. If someone did need to get something notarized, what would the next plan be?
There is an emergency protocol in place in one of the executive orders, and I don't remember which one it was because we're up to QQ now, but in one of the earlier emergency orders, there's a way that we can provide notary services electronically through email.
Really?
So we, right now, we're going to, if there is an emergency and somebody cannot get a notary through, another source, through their attorney or whatever, we would try to implement that electronic means to provide it.
Okay. Great. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, hearing or seeing none. Okay, the Hebron Small Business Grant discussion.
So I give you a quick update on this. We had our attorney review the statute and our ordinance on the tax abatement, tax deferral, and he confirmed that that is only for real estate taxes for Hebron taxpayers in their primary residence. That would not be something that we could use or extend to businesses. He did look into a couple other statutes for us. One was 12-124. It's abatement of taxes and interest, and that focuses on the poor. So really indigent individuals, and it could possibly extend to businesses. And then the other was statute 12-125, and that is for corporations and businesses, but there again, it is for poor. So, and there's certain requirements that they need to meet. So he did not feel that either one of them would be something that we would be implementing for this type of situation.
Okay, now, our economic development coordinator, I know he's been working, I believe, with Diane Nadeau over at the Willimantic Chamber. is there anything, and I get a lot of information from the Willimantic Chamber, a lot of stuff they're trying to get going. Um, would that be a place that we could send businesses to see what avenues or resources they may have to assist?
That is one of the places. They have been helping us, and they've sponsored and will be sponsoring some online webinars or informational sessions. I think they held one the other day, and I think there was only one person in attendance or one business in attendance. John G is sending out newsletters to the businesses whenever he gets new information on the resources. So we are trying to get the word out and get as much information out, and act as a clearinghouse to try to get them to the right places.
Okay. Gyms and that type of establishments, I believe, are scheduled, was it June 11th or June
June 20th.
20th?
20th. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, it's Peter,
Yes.
Councilman, if I may. I don't know if this is the right time, but I see and hear a lot of wonderful work being done to provide information, and that's great. But a lot of the businesses that I talk to, with the rigors of having to sort of manage under these circumstances, aren't necessarily all that tuned into or adept to being sent to other places in webinars and all that stuff. And so I really think we need to consider how we, even in a small way, can proactively take some leadership in helping develop something in support of what's already being done by the chamber and things like that. So I know that would require some dialogue, but it seems to me that we've done a great job of assessing what's available, directing people, logistically preparing the town. But the biggest gap that most of these businesses will face will not be reopening, but it will be how do they stay open economically. It's predicted that 25% of all restaurants nationwide will never survive. 50% up to 50% of local restaurants, when you look at small towns, have no chance of making it. Because the expenses tied to the restrictions, tied to the revenue, if you do the math, doesn't work. So we're really at a sort of a crisis relative to helping these businesses jumpstart their businesses to assess whether or not they actually can continue. I've talked to some businesses in town who suspect they won't survive no matter what happens. And these are businesses that had previously been very successful. But when you look at the expenses, you look at the new restrictions, and then you look at one of the biggest challenges, not to go on too much of a soapbox here, but one of the biggest challenges in the area that I have some, for lack of a better term, expertise in is risk management. And one of the biggest challenges in any catastrophe for a business, a fire, hurricane, something like that, is actually ramping their business up and equating this to a natural disaster. It's like having a hurricane in all 50 states all at the same time. And so the biggest challenge, and where insurance coverage has typically come in, which it doesn't here, is in that 90 days to ramp back up to some sort of normalcy, of which in this case, they won't actually have that normalcy. And so what I am interested in talking about, and maybe now is not the right time, but I'm interested in talking about what can we do in addition to proactively support our businesses. Again, not a lot of necessarily money, but really, and there's a lot of ideas that I think can be tossed around, but I want to get at the forefront. I want to be out front in support, not just directing them to Wyndham and to webinar. That's great, but what are we doing to demonstrate that we're at the forefront of this to assist in that process, in addition to what I've already been told is being done. So wherever we can talk about that, I want to talk about that.
I do have one thing that I can mention that Michael Leary just sent me today, and this is for the restaurants. I know it doesn't address all of the businesses, but it's just one thing that we're doing for the restaurants. That CME and John G, they're reaching out to all of the restaurants in town, to see which ones are open, who's doing, on-site dining, takeout, what exactly they're doing. And then once they do that, they're going to compile information to try to help support those eateries. And we will be putting that information on our website. The businesses that have been contacted were very happy or, pleased with that effort. So that's just one thing that we're working on right now, but it is a good idea to see what else we can do to reach out and help all
And
of you.
this isn't a criticism at all. This is simply answering the question, are we doing everything we can possibly do as a community, everything, to help demonstrate our support? And so it's not a criticism at all. It's a challenge of what else can we do, create a subcommittee, what else can we do? I mean, all ideas are welcome, but I'm just sort of challenging myself too in hearing from the businesses. And so I just want to figure out a way to bring that into the dialogue and support what great work's already being done by doing more somehow.
I think that's one of the roles of that long-term recovery coordinator. That person is part of that responsibility is to work with the businesses so that that could help move that along.
Peter, one
So,
thing that is helpful that we talked about was easing the zoning restrictions. So at Gina Marie's, they were able to use the parking lot as you see all the seating there. It was kind of sad for me to drive by the past couple of days because I never saw more than one group of people. So, that kind of worries Jessica and I too, because we're thinking of coming out into the parking lot there and we're repainting all the tables and chairs, and you can only have outdoor seating. They can't sit inside. So that was kind of discouraging because I don't think people are going to be that excited about coming out and sitting in groups, but hopefully we'll get some takeout business and keep you guys apprised of how it's working.
so just, and like, I'm not an expert on this, but, we're in a crisis. The town, the state, the country's in a crisis. And, I just want to, and like Peter, there's no criticism of anybody, just throwing out ideas and seeing what the Board of Selectmen in its special place can do. We are the leaders of the community. I mean, basically, we are the lead agency. So EDC is reaching out to businesses, which is great. But I also see an opportunity here for us, for the community. We're in a crisis. We need to pull together. We need to help these businesses. It does no good long term for us to have empty storefront. So we need to do everything we can to help them. But also, they're members of the community, and they are in serious trouble. So, one of the ideas, and this is a very small idea, but, we're reopening town, reopening the state. Maybe we should have like a campaign of reopening, of banners, encouraging banners in the street, of, Hebron is reopening, or Hebron strong, or, but I think the thing that I think we can do, and Peter has suggested this before, Peter and I talked a little bit about it, is think about how we drive customers to the stores. We have 9,600 people in this town, and a lot of them go to other towns, and which is fine. They're part of the community too. But how do we drive our citizens to buy downtown? We have this idea of buy Hebron and all that, and I think that's a great idea. But I think, I guess, psychologically, as leaders, we should be thinking about the psychological lift that we can give the town, how we're going to do it, and I don't think it would cost very much to do. So I'm looking for ideas.
If I may, I would really like to see John come before us at our next Board of Selectmen's meeting. And I think I would like to have everybody kind of write up some ideas so that we can get them to him ahead of time. John, I think you got a good idea. I think as the the economic coordinator for the town, I would like to see him working on some of these types of proposals. So if we could kind of bounce off some of these different ideas, if we could get them in to Donna or Andy, so they could get those ideas to John, and we could have a roundtable maybe at our next Board of Selectmen's meeting. This time of year is not a lot of things happening, but yes, we need to do something. I don't know, maybe Bad Bunny can run around town again and make people laugh and smile. Something a little different, a little humorous, a little whimsical, but something that gets people coming. What's that?
The dinosaur that's been running around town. Funny.
No, the same kind of deal.
Well, one of the things, Dan, I was thinking is, let's assume that our restaurants become very successful and they have lots of customers and they're using up their parking lot. We need to provide public parking for people and identify where people can park and have pathways or routes to get to the restaurants. I don't know, things like that.
Well, thankfully, with the sidewalks that we have in town, we do have incredible walking potential to virtually all of the restaurant and or business hubs that we have, in town within reason. I mean, I know J&B is kind of way out there on 66, but John Tarquinio's up on East Street. But by and large, you can walk down to the plaza, you can walk down to, Wild Bill's, Georgia's, that area. You can walk all over Hebron Center. We have parking behind the library. We have parking behind Jim Celio's. So we do have parking. It's how to get people back into town, and I would like to see outside people coming into town. But then again, you have the social distancing and you have some other challenges that we would also have to overcome. So as I say, it's coming up with some ideas. What might bring people, or what might encourage people to come to downtown Hebron?
And then there's using the social media from the town, the Facebook page, the website, the MailChimp capability, and sending out information. I mean, that's another aspect.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Peter, and I'll defer also because I have a couple more things, but Gail, I don't want to sort of monopolize here. Do you have anything you want to add before? I had a couple more things, but I didn't know if you wanted to throw in some thoughts just so we hear your voice before I ramble on.
I'd like to throw in some thoughts. I think we need a kickoff for this to build on the idea that you had and John has. If we had a kickoff which was played up in the River East, now that it's back in circulation, and that's where I can see the banner coming up that day, and it's by Hebron on that day. And that's where we can have the bunny rabbit running through the streets too. But you want to make it special for one day, because if you get people in initially, they'll say, "Oh, we have some nice restaurants. We have a nice store here," and they might hopefully want to come back again.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay for me to continue?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So I think all these ideas are great, and I would suggest that we consider a subcommittee of some sort to assist that those that are taking the role and more active, so we can be, and maybe that subcommittee has one or two business owners on that, because I think there's a lot of ideas. And if I may, and give me just a second here, I will find it. But I have an email or a notice from one of our business owners, if I may, at this juncture, because it's germane to this dialogue. Could I just highlight a couple things? This is from Hebron Eye Care, or
Okay.
Wendy Dempsey and Tom Dempsey. So they had sent me a note. It's a long text. I won't read the whole text, but I think it sort of really encapsulates the idea that we don't have to necessarily, as John said, we don't have to spend a lot or do a lot, but like the ideas like Gail, you said, it may not be much, but it could have just a huge psychological bump. And so I'll just highlight a couple things, since this is one of our business owners. She's, in terms of me saying we're going to figure out a way to try to continue to help, and she thanked us for all that. But for the next, I'll just read some of it. For the next few weeks, all the business owners reopening in this new environment are going to be working around the clock and very stressed, especially the ones with employees and dealing with the public. So her position is maybe keep the next few weeks a little more low key, then ramp it up. And obviously, Mark, you may be able to comment on that when you talk about all the changes you have to make. Just letting people know who is open may help. I think after businesses have figured out staffing and social distancing, then helping people feel, I think this is the big thing that's been mentioned by a couple of us already, helping people feel safe about using our local businesses would be great. Maybe a highlight, interviews, that kind of thing, showing what each business is doing to keep their customers safe. Because I think there's a fear of like, maybe I'll wait to come back and see what happens. So I think that's an idea. And I don't know this person. Andrea Murray was doing a thing highlighting local businesses. Maybe she would be a good person to contact. I don't want to leave anything out here that's germane. Honestly, any kind of campaign reminding people why shopping local matters. People don't realize how much local businesses, she highlights all the things that they do to support the charities and the kids and the schools and all that. And basically, so I'll just skip down to the end here. Maybe now is a good time to do a campaign reminding or educating people about buying local versus online. Again, her business is frustrated because now people are buying contacts online. She says they can buy them for the same price at my place, but now their buying behaviors have changed as people have flocked to the internet even more so than they've had before. I hope that's what you're looking for. It's very much appreciated. I know we're supported in town. So very appreciative of anything we can do. So to John's point, we don't just have to spend a lot of money. Some of Gail's highlights, we can do a few things that could really show the people that it's safe, that we're reopening, with enthusiasm and support. And how do we then over the next few weeks maybe highlight what a business is doing? And so, suddenly simple, hey, now the interview, we're highlighting that business. Good to know is every week we highlight 2 or 3 businesses, maybe with even an interview. We've moved our tables outside. We've done these new things. This is how we're safe. This is what we're doing. This is how easy it is to order. This is how to find the menu. Anything to sort of give us a chance to connect with the public, and use things like there's some social media that some other folks, I forget the gentleman's name, but has good social, it's a Hebron page of some sort. Unfortunately, I'm not a social media guy, so I lose sight of some of this stuff. But my wife's reminding me, hey, this person does a lot to push news in town. So how do we garner all that together? So anyway, can we get a subcommittee to really sort of partner and bring some of these ideas to fruition with a business owner or two, maybe part of that dialogue, and we'll just keep providing feedback. So I just wanted to add those couple of long items.
Okay.
So thank you for
Along that line, 2 things I'd like to just mention. There's the next door Hebron, which whether or not that would be a fitting venue to put on the businesses in Hebron that are open. I don't know why it would not be. So there would be that, which goes out to a lot of people in the area. But the other thing I was thinking as you were talking, and I don't know who did it, and I'm hoping everybody would remember it. A while back, months ago, there was that video that was done by somebody of downtown Hebron.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe something like that could be done again, but showing all of the safety precautions that the local businesses have done, to welcome back their patrons. I don't remember who did it. I don't know if that was an EDC. And
You
I don't
mean
know
the
if it was a,
flyby, the fly thing?
yeah.
Oh, that was
Um,
EDC. Yeah, that was EDC.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was Michael Leary and John to the EDC.
Well, maybe again, they could do something on the ground going into a lot of the businesses and just kind of touching base as to what they've done to make the patrons, safe and feeling welcomed back. Um, so as I say, these would be things that I'd like to bounce off of John's head and, see what he can put together. In a timely, because again, timing is everything. We need to get people back. Uh,
So,
so
Dan, just one more thing I might
sure.
add. Um, so it's businesses and it's the community. It's businesses and it's customers. And one thing we want to do is I mean, everybody's been through this, and everybody's got a story. I think everybody's hurting. I don't know anybody that, well, the liquor store is doing better, and so is Ace Hardware. But okay. One of the things I was thinking is that people can and business can create their own videos about their own experiences and send them in and have them posted somewhere, just so that we get participation, because participation is going to be key here. I think. Again, Peter really pointed that out to me about first of all the difference in customer behavior, but also that we need to drive customers to downtown somehow, and we need to figure out ways to get them to participate, and so that they feel like we're all hanging together.
There is someone who is in our Hebron community that does web design, and that person may be able to be contacted also to see if they have ideas on how to, again, do something that could go out. So I think it's all great thoughts. We just kind of need to correlate them, get them together, and see what we can do about getting something together. Would that be something that the community, to Donna, would that be something that the community channel could be a part of also?
The community voice channel, I'm sure they would be happy to broadcast anything that we submit to them. We could ask them to send out a producer. I mean, a couple of them we know. One of them's Mal and one of them is Adam Phelps. They could do some interviews or go out and visit some businesses and take some videos. But I think we can also ask the businesses to submit videos. As John mentioned, it's really easy now to do a Facebook Live or just prepare a video, submit it to our web, to our office, and we can post it on our Facebook page. But we definitely could get
Okay.
a CVC involved. They're still, last I knew, they were not in the office. They were all working remotely, but they are working, so.
Okay. Perfect.
Dan, I think you mentioned it before about getting John G to come in and all, but I think we don't want to waste energy and time. It would be important to get Mike and John to meet with us so that we can see who's doing what, because we don't want to duplicate efforts. That would be self-defeating. So if we could all get together, so perhaps at the next meeting, Mike and John might be able to attend.
Well, that's what I would hope, is that they would be able to attend, and we could, if we have, our thoughts, if we could get them written down and into Donna and Andy, they could then forward them to John and whoever, and hopefully they could actually either give some sort of a progress report or something based on our ideas, and then with other discussion, maybe come up with more ideas. But yes, I agree. Timing is everything. And the sooner the better to try to get some of this stuff done. And professionally is better than amateur, but I think anything that helps to show that our businesses are ready and welcoming people to come back is a plus. Any further discussion?
So are we going to wait for the next meeting? Is that?
No. We're going to try to get our ideas together, compile them.
Okay.
If people can put together clips, great. We'll see what we can do about getting them up. Donna's going to talk to see about if we can get the community channel people involved. I'm not sure what actions we can do tonight outside of,
Mr. Chairman, this is Peter.
what we can-
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, please.
I don't know if John's alluding to this, but I'm not really, I'm concerned that it's going to take too much time. So if we wait a couple weeks, then we do something 2 weeks later. Now a month has passed. And so I'm wondering if tonight, could we talk about a special meeting just on this topic because it's so
Sure.
important? And could we look at maybe doing some of that next week? And so the idea of, could we agree to set up a subcommittee to be a run point to sort of support, what John's doing and others are doing, so we can put some meat to it, and then maybe think about, could we set even a special meeting and say, hey, get your ideas to Donna in the next few days. We view this as important enough to have it be a specific one session, not part of a broader agenda. And so I don't know if there's interest in that, but I think we have to demonstrate what's the pace in which we can move that demonstrates the urgency that probably these business owners feel as well. There's got to be a lot of anxiety over what's happened yesterday and over the next few days, especially for those that have to wait until June 20th. And so I'm a fan of it if we can do a couple of those things. I don't know.
To be honest, I mean, I know my nighttime social life is just so hectic nowadays. I don't have a problem at all if Donna could arrange something. I mean, I know next week is a short week, but if we could organize or arrange a special meeting, I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, our next regular meeting's not until June 4th, and that seems a long way off to wait to do this. So we probably could do a special meeting next week, inviting John G., Michael Leary, and anyone else that you think of. And June 20th is the next big date. That's the date the restaurants open. So that may be a day we look at to be our kickoff day for whatever program or event we want to promote.
Could we, Donna, invite all the businesses to this special meeting? Is that appropriate or not appropriate?
I think you should.
I think we could put it out there.
Yeah, through the economic development. I don't know what we have for contact information, but it's a special meeting specifically to support your reopening, and we have opportunities, maybe public comment at the beginning, public comment at the end, and then maybe there's a way to. But if it's just a special meeting for them, we ought to try to get as many of them to show up as we could, because they're going to be the sort of the catalyst for the best ideas. Yeah, Mark, I see.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I fully agree with Peter, because how can we formulate what we're going to do if we haven't talked to the people who are experiencing the problem? So we don't really know how to respond until we have all the information. We emotionally and heartfelt know how to respond, but specifically, let's talk to Troy, have Jessica come in. I don't know the owners of George's, but I think that's who you need to talk to. But one other comment I had is, restaurants are really hurting, and to use a term that's not very popular, it's redistributed wealth to supermarkets because nobody's going out to eat anymore, but they're still eating. So they just buy more food in different places. So people are still spending money. They're spending it somewhere else, and they're not spending it in restaurants. So restaurants are really hurting.
Can
Well,
I,
And gyms, the barber shop, they haven't been able to have anybody come in there. So it's a certain segment that are really hurting. Like John Collins commented earlier, the package stores. I went to the hardware store today, and I've never seen so many people in there.
they've had to limit their hours. That's how they've doubled their business. So, can I just back up a little bit? I think Peter not only has expertise, but he has passion for this. I'd like to give him some role here because in making this happen. But the second thing is, I just want to circle back to customers. We need to get everybody involved in two things: customers, and then also this being a community event. The opportunity for making this a community. Let's hang together. Let's support everybody. To do that, we need to get the people that can contact people. So I'm talking like about Lions Club, AHM, whoever has lists, has special relationships. Schools, they have lists. Parks and Rec have lists. Whoever has these special relationships, have connections within the community that we can communicate through, I think should be at the meeting, or at least contacted and participate somehow, because they are our contacts. They are the people that will drive the customers to the downtown. And part of this is great, for us to do it, and have it be a community event. But the more people we can drive there, oh my gosh, the better, right?
John, that's a great idea. Maybe we have something like Takeout Thursday where everybody gets in a group and goes and gets takeout from all the restaurants, even if it's one day a week. That, like, I don't know if it was Peter that said earlier that, supporting people emotionally and psychologically is huge too.
Yep.
Well, I know I have right now a strawberry ice cream sitting in my freezer that came back while we were in this meeting. So somebody went out. But yeah, so as I say, these are all great ideas. Let's see if we can get a meeting next week. See if we can get AHM invited. Some of the other players, if they can send a representative, to the virtual meeting, and let's see what we can brainstorm and roundtable and see what we can get going. As I say, it's not like everybody's going out partying all night long anymore. Not for a while.
I think, Mr. Chairman, and I think John mentioned the psychological lift, and I echoed that a little bit. But I think if the businesses heard that we were having a meeting just for them, I mean, that in and of itself is a wonderful start. Because I think sometimes there's just too much information out there and it's overwhelming all the people trying to help. But here's your town that recognizes this is a community problem. This is not a business problem. This is a community problem for us to solve. And so we're going to have this meeting just to help us figure out how we can help. And so I think maybe Mike can reach out to the businesses. Down, I'll have to lean on you for some assistance there. But
Yeah.
man, if you're a business owner and you don't show up to this meeting, you know what? We can't help you. Sorry.
Well,
so let's get
restaurants maybe they have a hard time only because if it's 6, 7, whatever time it is, it's dinner hour. But I don't know. Does anybody have a problem with Peter kind of heading this up from the Selectmen?
Great idea. Absolutely.
I'm happy to help in any way I can. I don't need to take the lead. I'm happy to stay involved and be as help in any way that I can.
Being involved with marketing and that kind of thing, it's more your natural area. So
I'm happy to take a lead in any of this and
see
lean
what
on
Donna
you.
can get organized, and
Okay.
we'll go
Great.
from there.
Yeah, I
Thank you,
want to
Donna.
help, but I think Peter should share it up with his idea. And then I will join your little committee and do anything I can, because I do know a couple of the small businesses in town.
Yeah, and leaning on all of you, all have of expertise in elements of this that we need to lean on. But yeah, I'm happy to work with Donna and figure out how we can sort of get this started, and then lean on everybody with your backgrounds and expertise to figure out how we can launch this thing. So thank you for that. I think it was good dialogue. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good.
Our next, at this point, would be any other old business, and I don't know of any at this point.
Yep.
We have this is new business, the grant application. Read the resolution, then we can discuss it. And I'll read it. Approve the LoSiP grant application for Martin Road improvements. Attached is information regarding the Connecticut Department of Transportation Local Transportation Capital Improvement Program application, LoSiP, for Martin Road improvements in the project amount of $3,042,200. Be it resolved that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the application to the Connecticut Department of Transportation Local Transportation Capital Improvement Program, LoSiP, for the Martin Road improvements, and authorize Andrew J. Tierney, Town Manager, to sign any necessary documents relative to submission of the grant application. Okay, with that, open it up for discussion. Did everybody get a chance to actually see, at least on the map, or by chance drive and see this section of roadway?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, yes, Kevin Kelly, Public
would you
Works.
like to talk a little bit about the project first so you know what's going on?
Sure, please.
I've asked Tom, Town Engineer, to join us in our discussion tonight. And he's in a minute or so, I'm going to ask him to go through the details of the project and what it is. Right now, I sit on I'm a member of the Transportation Committee for the Capital Region Council of Governments. And they put out a solicitation for new projects. And they do this every now and then. And this is the same type of funding. It's called the LoTSIP program. It's the same type of funding that we use to do the Church Street sidewalks and the Wall Street Route 66 intersection, which is getting ready to get going. We're hoping to be considered for this application for the reconstruction of Martin Road, because it's an expensive project if we do it the way it should be done, and such the price tag. This is a federally recognized road, and it's considered a major collector. As you saw, we're applying for a $3 million grant, and the town would be responsible for all the design work for the project, which would run anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000. We're hoping that we can fund this out of the road bond that was approved last year. Right now, I'm going to ask Tom to go through all the details of the project, and you'll see it's pretty extensive. Tom, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Tom.
All right, so I'm Tom Fenton, the town engineer with Nathan Jacobson Associates. I've been working with Kevin on this application, and he kind of summarized, I think, pretty well the whole kind of the program, the LoTSIP program. It's called the Local Transportation Capital Improvement Program. It runs through CROG, the Capital Region Council of Governments, and they do a solicitation, as Kevin said, every few years. This application is due May 27th, which is why we're here at this meeting. Kevin and I spent quite a bit of time kind of putting together this project and what needs to be done on the road. As Kevin mentioned, the LoTSIP program, the only projects that are on collector roads are eligible for funding through LoTSIP. And I believe Martin Road is the only town road that can classify as a collector, has a functional classification as a collector road. The other two projects we've done that were funded through LoTSIP, as Kevin mentioned, were the Church Street sidewalks, which is a state road and arterial road, and then the Main Street Wall Street intersection, which is in the design phase now, and will be constructed next year. It's going through design and review. with CROG and DOT shortly, and then it'll be constructed next year, that intersection. So those two projects have been funded through LOTSIP. So as far as this project goes, as Kevin mentioned, it's a pretty extensive project, reclamation and repaving of the entire road, but there's also quite a bit of, there's a couple of different sections of drainage improvements. We're proposing to improve the intersection at Porter Road to get rid of those two sort of channelization lanes on the north and kind of clean that up, reduce some pavement. There's several culverts that are either deteriorated, old corrugated metal culverts that need to be replaced. The head walls are failing, and then a number of those culverts need guide rail or have the pipes extended so that they're sloped so they don't have guide rail. And of course, when we do a project like this, when we do guide rail or any those types of improvement, it has to meet the current standards. Martin Road is a 2.3 mile long road, extends from Route 85 to the town line in Marlboro. There's some drainage work at the intersection of West Street, so it's a pretty extensive project. And if I believe you got the plans in the application package, there were 4 sheets, and it showed the length of the road and the various improvements. So I think also in that package we had a cover letter, we had the plans, we had a location map, I believe, and then there's a cost estimate. And just to kind of give a little background on that, Kevin mentioned it's a pretty expensive project at that a little over $3 million price tag. One of the things with this LOTSIP program is that the cost estimating and the construction costs have to follow their guidelines, and in that it has to use unit costs that either are recommended by the program or you can substantiate usually through a DOT unit cost. So the unit costs are really we're locked into using their costs, and then there are a number of allowances and contingencies that are applied. So as you can see, the actual construction estimate for the construction items comes out to about 1.7 million, but there's several contingencies and allowances that are mandated to be figured into the estimate. I think the reason they do this, and Kevin can probably speak to this because I know he goes to a lot of the meetings, but I think one of the reasons they do this is because they don't want projects to come in, get funding, and then as they get into the design process, need more money because of things that were not anticipated. So we do try to, do 2 things. We try to make sure we anticipate anything that might need to be done in the project as we get into more detailed design. And then, of course, we follow their estimating guidelines, which probably ends up with a conservative cost. As I said, I think they tend to be careful to not have projects be underestimated. So with that, I think I'll just give it back to Kevin or open it up to questions if there's anything else I can offer as assistance.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for us to rebuild the road the way it should be done. If we didn't have money like this, there'd be no way that we could afford to rebuild the road the way it should be done. And granted, if it's not in stone that we'll get this grant, we're hoping we do, because they like to give some of these projects to smaller towns, where a lot of the bigger towns usually absorb a lot of the money. But we're trying to get this, and if we don't, we'll go in, we'll do what we can with the road because it does need improvement. As many of you know from driving on it, there's some serious rutting on the road and it needs some work. And if we get improvement, we'd hope we can go to design next year and hopefully construction the year after. So I hope you will consider this. Thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
Open up to the members.
This is Peter Casper, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, please.
I appreciate the information and the detail and the photos and all that. And Kevin, you're right. When you look at the ability for us to potentially take advantage of these funds, it seems like a great idea. And not that this matters, but I am intimately familiar with the road. That's on my jogging route. And I think I waved to Kevin one time when he was looking at some of the stuff. He probably said, who's that idiot waving at me? But I see every one of those things you're talking about, Tom, too, in terms of every of those the puddles and the sight lines and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I would be personally super excited if we got this. But a great job of preparing and presenting the material, because obviously I'm familiar with the road, but even if you weren't, you really could see from the photos what you're talking about for those that may not be as well informed about these kind of projects. But those photos and the presentation clearly made it obvious, even again, if that's not the type of thing they're used to viewing and as a selectman member. But yeah, you're right, Kevin. It just seems like with the money available, it's a no-brainer. But thank you for all the work that everyone did to put that together. It was very good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Read the resolution, had our discussion. Gail Richmond, how do you vote? You're on mute. You're on mute, Gail.
Yep, I just turned it off. So Gail Richmond votes yes.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Mark Rivera,
Mark Rivera, aye.
John Collins,
John Collins, aye.
and Daniel Larson. I vote aye. The resolution has carried. Leave it up to the people to do what's necessary. Hopefully we'll get it.
Good luck.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
And the resolution will help, I think. Having the support of the Board of Selectmen obviously, helps with these applications. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. It's a lot of work. And the road is in really tough shape. I don't think people realize just how bad some of these roads are until you actually see the pictures of it.
And then I know we're beyond this resolution, but when you talk about the sight lines, there are spots that are so dangerous on that road. You talk about some of the sight lines, Mark. I know you know all the roads,
Yeah,
but
it's true.
some
Yeah.
spots that are, and I probably shouldn't run it, but it's such a pretty road, so I always, I always head down it. But those sight lines, when I saw those pictures and made that connection, it would be awesome to get some of that improvement. It would be a safety issue, clearly. So
Included in the project.
Excuse me. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I believe our next item is the Hebron Harvest Fair waiver request. Attached is the request for the Hebron Lions. Attached is a request from the Hebron Lions requesting waiver of the fees for the 2020 Hebron Harvest Fair. Attached is a copy of the permit application form reflecting a total value of the project of $70,000 with a fee waiver request totaling $840. Be it resolved that by the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the Hebron Lions Club request for waiver of the permit fees associated with the 2020 Hebron Harvest Fair in accordance with the Hebron Town Code, Chapter 200, Fees, Section 200-2, Waiver of Fees. Hearing the request, open it up for discussion.
Gail here, Dan. With what the Lions do and what they donate back to the town every year, the senior center, the library, and everything else that they do, I think it's only right that we waive the fee. It's $840. It's not a lot, but it's certainly a goodwill gesture on our part.
I wholeheartedly support waiving it also.
Okay. Peter or John?
I call the question. Let's vote.
Okay, I was going to say,
Yes.
the only other thing I would like to mention is that the town does utilize their storage facilities throughout the year to actually house or cover town-owned equipment at, again, no charge to the town by the Lions. So having the question being moved, Gail Richmond, how do you vote? You're on mute.
I'm trying to be a good citizen here and turn it off. You just have to remember the rest of that. So Gail votes yes.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
John,
John Collins, aye.
and myself, Dan Larson, aye. Our next thing, we have the draft agenda for the June 4th, 2020 meeting. And I think, I don't know, well, it's on there, update. So it's on there under A, 7A. I would just like to, hopefully John would be able to come with some sort of progress report on the discussions from next week. So I don't know if that's a separate entity or a separate item from 7A. What's the feeling of the body? Do we want it to have its own heading?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll add that as whatever. I'll let the smart people figure out where it gets put. But so
Probably it's a 7B, Dan,
uh,
before we get into the
you know
schools.
what? I did not print that out, but yes, whatever. Yes.
Donna will figure it out for us.
We'll
Nice
get
thing
it. We'll
going
figure it.
into the meeting is you have the packet. Everything is right there. I tried to copy off things that I knew I needed to read. But okay, so outside of that, and that we have no other change in that. Any other new business? I think we've already kind of discussed it. So barring anyone's issues, I'd like to move on to our consent agenda. We have the approval of the minutes of May 7th, and I have to apologize.
We don't have those minutes yet, so
Good,
we'll
'cause
put
I
that
couldn't
on the
find
next agenda.
That's why
We'll
I
put it
couldn't
on
find
the
them.
next agenda.
Okay, I figured it was just me. Okay,
So it's just that one tax refund.
yep, okay. So move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the following consent agenda item. The tax refund as listed. Any discussion? Hearing none. Gail,
Gail votes aye.
Peter, or Mark,
Mark votes aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
John,
John Collins, aye.
Dan, me, I.
Aye.
I'm trying to mix it up, make sure people are awake. Okay, liaison reports. Mark,
Well, for those of you who don't know, the superintendent of RAM resigned. And Scott Leslie's going to take over as the interim superintendent. We're doing a lot of work on safety and security and try to figure out how to go back to school safely. It's challenging, and we're not really sure where we're going right now with that. But virtual school has been going very well. And hopefully we'll have something at some point this summer with the kids are really kind of anxious to know whether they're going back or not, and nobody really knows. So that's what we've been working on over at RAM.
okay. Anything with AHM?
No.
Okay. Gail,
All right, a few updates. The Douglas Library is planning a soft reopening. The final details will still be determined, but curbside pickup will soon be available during limited hours each day. So you would go order your material online or over the phone, and then it would be placed outside on a table for you to come and pick up. No contact from people. And the summer reading program for the children is going to be being planned using the Zoom platform. Senior Center, AARP always does their tax aid program, but under the current circumstances, they had to suspend it. So many people have been calling, asking how they can get their taxes done by the new date of July. So the National Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program has launched a virtual free program. Details can be obtained by calling the Senior Center. And the Senior Center is now the intake site for all Operation Fuel applications for Hebron residents. Board of Ed met last Thursday, May 14th. The superintendent, Dr. Baird, spoke of the need for additional support for students when they return in the fall, because the absence has been so prolonged. Additional teachers are going to be needed to reduce class size in grades 1 through 3, as well as additional academic intervention. But right now, distance learning has been going very well. They do stay in touch to see and get feedback from parents to know how they may need to bend something. So it's been working out very well. That's it, Mr. Chairman. Or
Okay,
no,
a question. Was there any thought or discussion with reaching out to our other area schools to see on sharing of resources or whatever, especially not knowing what the state's going to propose for class sizes or any of that kind of thing?
No, there wasn't. But as you know, Heather Pettit, the chair of the Board of Ed, wants to start a committee with the other towns, AHM and the like, and she keeps talking to me about that, but that got put on hold right now with this virtual learning.
Okay, I know I did give her contact information with Andover's leadership because they are very anxious at trying to find ways of utilizing shared resources, not only amongst their own community, but with the surrounding communities. So I'm really hopeful that something will come out of that because
I know she was in contact with them, Dan.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see, next one down would be Peter.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, we know what's going on with the Board of Finance, so we don't have to talk about that relative to the budget. We were all part of that. I did go to the Parks and Rec meeting on the 18th, and that was the first meeting that they've had in months. Just take a minute, but I took a lot of notes. A lot going on there, and a lot of it's not that great. So let me just cover a few things. They went through sort of the programs that were out there in terms of where they feel that we're going to be able to open and offer to the community and where they won't. So just a couple of quick comments on that. The community garden looks like we can do that, and so that looks like that's going to move forward to be able to be reopened. There's no summer programs, no summer camps. So any of that all of that is gone. And that's obviously a pretty big deal. Looks like the farmers market is on the agenda to continue, maybe a late start July. So still a lot of details there, but that was on the list of let's figure that out and move forward. Hebron Day canceled. The prep in the fall, it's really, schools are going to dictate what their needs will be. So that's an unknown at this point. But obviously that's a big program and a big need in the community. So a lot of unknowns there. There's trail days, early June. It's going to be a little bit of virtual connectivity there, but that basically has been canceled. And then a lot of unknowns with the fall program. So just a lot of sort of, kind of negative energy on the inability to provide a lot of what proved to be some really terrific programming work that they've done, in addition to obviously some of those driving a significant amount of revenue into their area as well. Talked about open space, and I don't know much about this, John. I'm sure you do. But the property off of Old Colchester Road, 180 acres, looks like the DEP is acquiring that. So that seems good news. Again, that's not something that I'm up on, but I just made a note of that. Went through the budgets and the deficits. Again, I mentioned this before. There was just really, they have some people that are really in arrears, and they're really working hard with the utilization of the software to figure out a way to restructure the billing in a way to not put them in a hole. I mean, you have one person who owes $2,600. How do you get to that point? You know? And so, and there's two people that owe, just two families that owe $4,000. You know, and I'm thinking that's a lot of in arrears. You know, they're going back to last summer. So they've got a couple of initiatives really in a different approach that should eliminate that going forward. Rich mentioned being generally behind on all projects except for mowing. Working with the RAM, I guess with RAM to continue to manage some projects in drainage and on the comp fields. And now we're mowing Andover fields. So we talked a little bit about that. And then there was some discussion on the forest plan, but still a lot of detail to come forward on that. But that was covered. And just to comment on what Gail, or add to what Gail was saying, they did make a comment on the fact that Heather had reached out to Parks and Rec to be part of the Shared Services Advisory Group. So invited by Heather. So apparently there's maybe some progress. Gail, I don't know if that was like 3 months ago because we haven't met in so long, or that was recently, but coincidentally, since you brought it up, he did mention that Heather did reach out to him to be part of the advisory group and participate there. So that's what I have.
Thank you. John?
So yeah, open space, the state, I guess, finalized their acquisition of the Fraccia property, which is a big piece of real estate in town. Hebron project's going along. It's got its small things, but Mel's and the committee's doing a great job. And then the EDC met. I was conflicted, so I couldn't go, but what they've said happened was that they are doing that restaurant survey to see what the new hours are. They're going to put it on the website. I guess John G's assistant's going to help with that web design. And Tertian property is going along, which is exciting because it's going to be, I guess, a brew pub. And that is a huge thing to me because I think that if we can get some restaurants on the trails, that's fun, you know, and that's biking and beer. What's better than that, right?
Yeah.
So that's it.
A quick question. It sounded as if they pulled off of Hebron Elementary School. You moved on my screen. Any idea when they're going to get back to get that project wrapped up?
I don't know. I was trying to get it out of Mal, but it's so, you can follow the emails. It's pretty complicated right now. I want to get Mal back in to give us an update maybe next week.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. The Hebron Historic met. At this point in time, they are moving forward with the Rosie the Riveter program, which is set, I want to say August 21st. I have to verify that date. They are planning on a number of events occurring that day at that site. A lot's going to depend on how things progress with the virus, if they're going to be able to have it or not. But at this point, they are anticipating it going on, and more information on that to follow. And that's it. I have nothing else. So, any further public comment from anybody out there, Donna, in whatever computer land or whatever they call this?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the town manager has showed up from vacation.
Oh my word! I hear voices. Again, I'm hearing voices. No, go ahead.
Just quickly, Donna did a great job. You guys are doing a great job. They signed the contract for the RAM campus improvements. The bonding and the insurance are in, so that project is going to start fairly, quickly. So I just wanted to give an update on that.
Beautiful. And how's your
Um,
boat?
To be talked about in another meeting.
So, any idea when everybody wants to have that special meeting next week?
I will make myself available whenever. It's more going to be probably when John and the others are available. It's a holiday week, but as I say, I don't see people leaving town with what's going on as rapidly as they might during normal holiday weekends.
I can reach out, I'll reach out to Mike and John G tomorrow and see what their availability is.
Great. Because we have to give notice to all the participants, right? So to get them there, just a heads up.
So maybe pushing towards the end of the week.
Yeah.
If we could do Thursday would be great, but I mean, whatever day, whatever, with the level of importance, I will make myself available whatever day it can come to fruition.
Okay.
Thursday would work out great for me. Wednesday wouldn't, but
Well, let's see if we can tentatively get it for Thursday, and that gives time to get the noticing out, because that's the other thing. Donna's got to notify Carla so that it gets posted as a special meeting, the topic of the special meeting. So, okay, perfect. Anybody have anything else? If not, it's going to be a gorgeous weekend. Get out, hit our local restaurants, eat under the umbrellas. It'll be good for all of us. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll make the move, we adjourn at 8:33.
Second.
All
Good
in
timing.
favor?
Bye.
Okay, who's going to say no? No.
Aye,
Have a
aye,
good
aye.
night, good weekend.
Thank you. Good
Good
job.
night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
Donna. Bye.